on my left. Yeah, he's on the left. They want to join or mill around
Getting the crap beat out of me for this one.
Hey, Henry, you want me on this side to split up?
Oh, yeah, women.
Yeah, we need the ladies around.
Get back closer. Later, come over
You
here.
guys are tall.
Come on in and get tighter. Get tight with me.
Yeah, tight.
All right. Okay. The Paris Agreement. It only confirms that Washington is in retreat. As with so many other matters, from human rights to health care, the Trump administration and Congress continue to surrender our nation's long-standing role as a global leader. Rather than stepping up to the challenges before us, Donald Trump is ducking his responsibility as leader of the world, vacating the world stage at a time when American leadership is vital to the future of our planet and our children. That's why California leadership is critical. And I know I speak for my colleagues when I say that we welcome that responsibility. We're showing the way forward, and we're sending a clear message to the rest of the world that no president, no matter how desperately they may try to ignore reality, can halt our progress. In California, we're making history by pushing forward. The Senate just approved our measure, Senate Bill 100, which puts California on a path to 100% clean, renewable energy by the year 2045. It will completely eliminate fracking from our electricity mix by the year 2045. It's the most ambitious target in the world, especially for an economy that dwarfs all but a handful of nations. But we're ready for that challenge. And more importantly, we're ready to seize the opportunity. This is our chance, not just to lead the world in fighting climate change, but to strengthen our middle class for decades to come, with quality jobs that can support families and lift communities across the state, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, or if you're agnostic altogether when it comes to politics. This is about lifting everybody up, whether you live in the Central Valley, the Bay Area, Inland Empire, the coast, or in Southern California. This is how we win the future, whether Donald Trump or Scott Pruitt like it or not. This is how we keep America's economy growing and thriving. We're also taking aggressive action to protect the progress of the last 50 years of bipartisan environmental leadership in our state. By passing the Preserve California legislative package yesterday, we ensure that no matter what the President or the Congress do, California won't lose the protections of landmark federal environmental laws, like the Clean Water Act, like the Clean Air Act, and the Endangered Species Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. This package protects our public lands from being auctioned off to polluters, and also ensures that California continues to make policy based on the best available science, not alternative facts from polluters or those with an agenda to pollute our environment. Now, in California, we believe in facts as well as science. And this will be a model. This will be a model for other states to follow to shield our residents from Congress's onslaught on public health and environmental safeguards. I'm extremely proud of the work of our senators here in the California State Senate. What they have done is quite incredible. I am grateful for their leadership as well as their commitment. And I'm looking forward to working with our colleagues in the Assembly and to send these bills to the governor. With that, I'll turn it over to our wonderful senator who has a measure that we'll be discussing today that is from down south in Los Angeles, Senator Henry Stern. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. As the joint author of Senate Bill 49, I am the resident environmental lawyer, I suppose, who has to push this measure through. But we cannot govern based on hope and faith that somehow the Trump administration is going to wake up tomorrow and realize that climate change is real, that it is caused by man. So we need insurance. And to me, this is a form of Trump insurance here to make sure that our clean air, our clean water, and our values aren't subject to the whims of a president who can't get through a day without changing his personality entirely. I was very disappointed, along with Pro Tem and many of my colleagues here, in terms of the decision to pull out of Paris. One slight or swerve from Macron, small little social slights driving global climate policy and the future of mankind, I think is a scary place to be. But I think the message is very clear from the California State Senate that while the rest of the country may be thrown into chaos by know-nothings, here we're staying the course, we're committed to our values, and for all those out there who are subject to pollution in this state, whether you live in the Central Valley, down in East LA, or even out in my communities in Porter Ranch, where we had 10,000 families kicked out of their homes from the largest methane leak in history, all those people will sleep better tonight knowing that the Senate has their back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next, we have from the Central Coast, that's Senator Hannibeth Jackson.
Thank you.
Hannibeth.
Thank you. I think every day we are surprised, but not surprised, at the attitudes of this current administration. We do know that the Trump administration has launched an attack on science that we have never witnessed before in the history of this nation. On his first day in office, President Trump issued orders to federal scientists across multiple agencies prohibiting them from speaking publicly without permission. Today, we hear that the United States, as has been mentioned, will be pulling out of the Paris Accord, which was a hard-fought effort by almost 100 nations in the world, using science to recognize the importance of an accord to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And scientists across the world fear that critical data on topics like climate change could be destroyed. Ideology cannot trump science, and Trump cannot trump science. That is what we are about here in California. We are pushing back because we know that our decisions, particularly on the environment, must be based on data and fact, not on whim, not on ideology, not on phony facts. It must be based on the work of our great scientists. And our policy needs to be based on science. Science should not be undermined by political ideology. And with that, we know if we cannot operate on the basis of fact and the realities that exist in this world, we simply jeopardize the future of this planet and every person who lives on it today and every child who is yet to be born. We must ensure that scientists can speak freely with policymakers, with each other, and with the world. My bill, SB 51, part of this package, protects science by directing California's state agencies to preserve scientific information and data from censorship or destruction orders that may emanate from Washington, D.C. This bill also gives scientists the ability to speak out without fear of retribution, and it protects government whistleblowers who report improper or illegal activity by ensuring that those who bravely and unselfishly stand up for the public's interest do not have their professional credentials stripped away as a result of their integrity, their honesty, and the realities of the science that they work hard every day to assure the rest of us that the world we live in will be one based on what is and not on what someone's delusions may otherwise create. With that, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much. Next, we have from West Los Angeles, Senator Ben Allen. Senator Ben Allen.
Well, everybody, typically we would be in a celebratory mood after passing such an extraordinary package of environmental bills. Instead, of course, we're lamenting the decision of this president to step back from American leadership, to derelict his duty as leader of the free world, to derelict his duty as President of the United States. The United States has always been a global leader combating those grave threats to society, to civilization. President Obama stepped up with his colleagues to continue that mantle of American leadership, and President Trump has stepped back in such a profound and disappointing way today. Now, each of these bills, of course, are in response to several serious threats that we felt coming, so perhaps we shouldn't be surprised by this decision. And I just want to talk briefly about SB 50 that we were able to pass yesterday out of the Senate that responds to a very serious threat that's been out there with regards to the use and the sovereignty, the sanctity of federal public lands. The sad truth is that there are people in the government right now in Washington who would like to see the federal government sell off, lease public lands, that sacred public trust that has been passed down to us from past generations, to the highest bidder, to folks who want to exploit the lands, who want to mine, extract, who want to sell off public lands for private gain. And SB 50 effectively seeks to block that sort of activity here in the state of California by requiring the federal government to offer the state right of first refusal, the California State Public Lands Commission right of first refusal, if there's any attempt to try to sell off or lease public federal lands. And we will make sure that our registrar recorders are not able to record the deed of sale if they don't follow this special procedure that offers right of first refusal to the state. And this will basically jam up the financing and put us in a place where we're going to be able to effectively block any attempt to try to sell off this sacred trust. Imagine if the lands around Yosemite National Park, Joshua Tree, the giant sequoias were suddenly open to exploitation because we had a minority president who decided that he knows best and that the federal government's obsession, that his obsession with private enterprise should trump the public use of public lands. So that's why we're here today. We're here to push back. We're here to say that California is on a different course, that we are going to continue to hold faith with our residents, with our voters and our folks here in this state who care about a strong, protective environmental approach. And we're going to never, ever step back from that sacred task. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, among the senators, and then we'll have two individuals, one from University of California at Davis and one from University of California at Riverside. But we have the senator from Alameda County in Contra Costa County, that is Senator Nancy Skinner.
Thank you. Actions by the White House have made it totally clear that we can no longer trust or rely on Washington, D.C. to uphold our nation's strong clean air, clean water, and environmental regulations that all of us across the country have come to rely on. Trump, as you know, has already proposed to cut the fuel efficiency of vehicles, to slash the budget for the Endangered Species Act, and to decimate our Environmental Protection Agency with significant budget cuts and eliminate over a quarter of the agency's workforce, of the jobs of EPA. And as was already mentioned, the new announcement today that Trump wants to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement, isolating the United States further. Most of the other countries of the world, large and small, are part of that historic agreement. But California will forge on. We will forge on with, as Senator De León has indicated, with the bill passed today, our 100% renewable energy goal. We will also forge on with the protections, whether they were in the Clean Air Act or fuel efficiency, different a little bit, but all of the different environmental protections that California has come to rely on, that Trump is threatening, we will make sure that our state enforces those laws and we continue to be a beacon of environmental protection. And that's what the package of bills that we're talking about today do. And when we return now to the question of our 100% renewable energy, generating electricity from renewable sources means you can generate it right here. The sun and the wind, they're right here in California. So that means that our power plants will be in California. Thus, California jobs, continuing to make this sixth largest economy ever stronger. I stand strongly in support of this incredible package. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Very powerful. Next, we have Shanti from the University of California at Davis. Shanti.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Shanti Ezra, and I'm a student at UC Davis, and I'm an intern at Environment California, and I support 100% clean energy because I believe it is possible, I believe we need it, and I believe with Senate Bill 100, we can do it. Thank you. Thank you.
And last, we have Sarah Badawi from Southern California, from the University of California at Riverside. Sarah.
I'm also an intern at Environment California, and sorry, thank you. And I also believe that SB 100 is a great bill because the air quality in Riverside is horrible, and I just want a cleaner future for my family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. What we can do is we can open up to questions. We have Senators Ben Allen, Skinner, Mr. Stern, as well as Senator Hannah Beth Jackson, myself, as well as the two students from UC Davis and UC Riverside, as well as a whole collection of experts, and activists when it comes to both climate as well as the environment. So why don't we open it to, yes, sir, questions?
Senator DeLeon, with Senate Bill 100, does the petroleum industry have a future in California? If so, what role or what do you envision for the future of the petroleum industry in California?
The fossil fuel industry is strong. There's no question about it. And the fossil fuel industry is not going to disappear tomorrow or the next day or the next year. That's part of our reality. We do depend on certain fossil fuels as part of our daily life. There's no question about it. Specifically when it comes to SB 100, which is dealing with utilities and specifically our grid, we believe that the future right now is wind, solar, it is geothermal, it is in some cases, it is the hydro plants that currently exist today, not prospectively, but currently in existence today. We believe there's three objectives with SB 100. Provide a tax cut, a tax break for consumers of California. What does that mean? When you open up your utility bill, we want you to pay less money out of your pocket to turn your lights on and turn them off, to heat your room and to cool your room. 2, decarbonize our economy. And lastly, create jobs. We've created 500,000 jobs in the clean energy space, energy efficiency, renewable space, whether it's distributed generation or utility scale, as well as transportation electrification, as well as electric vehicles. This is the future. We can't go backwards. We have to move forward to make sure we provide economic growth in the state of California.
Senator,
yes.
Considering today's announcement from Washington, what's the plan if California loses its waiver to protect our higher fuel efficiency standards?
Well, two separate things right there. On the issue with regards to Paris, it is distressing for all of us, especially those of us who were actually in Paris and in Peru the year previous, and I know Senator Nancy Skinner was in Copenhagen, Denmark, at the Conference of Parties. You've had almost every single nation in the world agree to this accord, and a very important global accord, but two nations, Nicaragua and Syria. So Donald J. Trump will be joining Syria, as well as Assad, as well as Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua, as the only nations in the world, who are not part of the Paris Accord. I don't think that's a good group, and that's not a good look for America, for the rest of the world. We're abandoning our responsibility. So what California will do, we will forge ahead with our agreements with other national governments as well as other subnational governments, Ontario, Quebec, national governments such as Mexico. And be mindful about one thing too. Well, this is happening in Washington, because right now perhaps they're debating in Washington, there's elements within the White House as well as the Congress, if the earth is still flat or not. We're moving forward with a plan to put people to work, decarbonize the economy, and clean the air. The Chinese, the Mexicans, the Canadians, the Germans, they're in the state capitol on a monthly basis. So what Donald J. Trump is doing today is he's serving on a silver platter to the Chinese the clean energy space to be the global leader. Right now, today, we are the global leader. And California leads the way, and we will continue to lead the way with or without Donald Trump. Not by the budget deadline. I don't see that by the budget deadline because that's coming up soon. Cap and trade, as you know, is a very complex issue. It's very arcane. We want to make sure we get it right. We have to get it right for the sanctity of the auction revenue markets. We'll be working with all of our colleagues here in the Senate, as well as our colleagues on the other side in the State Assembly, and with the governor's staff. It's our hope and idea that we can work in concert with each other. Obviously, we need to secure the necessary 2/3 threshold votes on both sides of the aisle, but we need a little more time. I think an arbitrary deadline by the budget is not a wise idea. We have a budget to deal with. We want to get over that budget, and then we can tackle this head on.
By the end of the year?
Hopefully we can by the end of the year. It's my hope. Yes.
Senator, is California collaborating with other states or even other countries to greater numbers to kind of separate itself from President Trump?
Well, we have been engaging with Quebec as well as Ontario. I had the Minister of the Environment of Ontario and Ottawa here just recently. The Mexicans were here with the Secretary of Energy as well as the regulator of the electric grid of Mexico. Like I said just a few moments ago, the Chinese are here, the Germans are here quite a bit. The Brazilians have been coming up quite a bit to get the technical expertise from our experts at both the California Energy Commission as well as CARB. They engage with these individual senators as well, and they take our ideas, our bills, you know, and they want to see how they can move them politically, but also at the same time, technically, the execution and implementation once these bills are codified into law in their respective countries, as well as other subnational governments. So, like I said, we're moving ahead. And it's not a good look for Donald J. Trump to be in the company of Syria and Nicaragua, while the rest of the world is forging forward and understands the issue of climate change. And when he conceives of an idea, or not conceives, I should say, but when he creates a narrative that by pulling out of the Paris Accord, that they will help Americans and they will help with the economic growth, that can be further from the truth. We all witnessed when he had his press conference with the coal miners. My heart broke when I saw the coal miners stand behind him when he signed the executive order. Because we all know that he will never be able to produce one single job for these coal miners. These coal miners need economic help. They need economic growth. And that's what we're doing here in California. We're more than happy to export our leadership as well as our policies and our technical expertise to other states, red states and blue states throughout the country. And we have been working closely with Massachusetts, with New York, with Washington, with Oregon, Colorado, other like-minded states who understand that renewable energy is nonpartisan. It doesn't make a difference if you're Republican or Democrat. It's about decarbonizing our economy and putting people to work. Yo te doy unas palabras en español. Déjame finalizar esto con todo el mundo. Any questions from, remember we have Senator Stern, Allen, Skinner, as well as Hannibal Jackson. Okay, seeing none, what we can do is this. For individual interviews for Mr. Stern, Ms. Jackson, as well as Skinner and Ben Allen, go for it, guys. Right there, okay. Thank you very much.
Senator, can I
Oh,
ask
you
an
have a question.
unrelated question about, there's 1,000 people downstairs trying to do the state of Jefferson, and
Oh,
they're
they are?
saying
Where are
that
they at?
there's not enough lawmakers representing them. Do you have a response to what those people are doing downstairs?
I haven't even seen them. I haven't seen them outside. No, they come up. I haven't seen them at all. I saw like 3 or 4 of them outside. Yo te leo el statement.